Peace ni amani, na amani ikiwa watu wataishi poa.
Utapataje mapato kama hauna amani? Au itaingiaje faida kwa kaunti yenu kama hakuna amani?
Na likija swala la trust ni kwamba hata kama una mtu wa kando, lakini ikija katika ile acceptance na even the family ama community huwa inaekwa kando sana.
Equity ndio I think tuko na shida kidogo, kwa sababu ukiangalia kama mambo ya stima iko mahali towns urban, barabara si mzuri, maji hakuna.
Tukiangalia mambo ya elimu, tunajikaza kusoma, lakini tunasoma na hali ngumu sana kwa sababu ya hali ya miundo misingi ya mashule hakuna.
Like mali nimetoka, mali mtu anakaa bila maji for a month. Mama anasafiri saa 9 ya usiku na anakuja saa 4 ya usiku.
There's a lot of injustices which are historical, which have made us feel that we either not Kenyans, or if we are second-class citizens.
The power of our nation lies in our diversity, and that is what makes us very, very unique.
Neno cohesion kwangu linamaanisha hali ya kuwa na umoja, hali ya kutembea pamoja, hali ya kuaminiana, hali ya kufanya kila kitu mkiwa na nia moja pasipokuwa na watashishi na mwingine.
Cohesion means bringing two people from different coexistence coming together and coming one in a purpose.
Being able to accept each other and live despite those differences harmoniously, for me that's cohesion.
The sense of pride that we are a people, we are one nation with one destiny. Being mindful of each other, taking care of one another. For me, cohesion is the key in as far as the life of this nation is concerned.
Kenya was colonized by the British, and under British colonialism, there was a very strong interest in the parts of the country that had agricultural potential. And so what the British colonialists did was to move the Kenyans who occupied what were eventually called the White Highlands. Subsequently, all the investment during colonialism took part basically in the White Highlands. So at independence, we inherited a country which had a very skewed development pattern. The parts of the country that had been occupied by white settlers had a lot of infrastructure. They had roads, they had water, they had electricity, they had telephone communications. The parts of the country that had not been occupied by the white settlers had nothing. Unfortunately, at independence, through sessional paper number 10 of 1965, the government decided that because we did not have enough money to invest everywhere at the same time, that it would focus investments on those parts of the country which would absorb the investment quickly. So the rest of the country could not catch up with the former White Highlands. And this has been the basis of a lot of disgruntlement against the national government.
Even before colonialism, we had many different tribal groupings that existed at that time, not necessarily in harmony with their neighbors. I think there has always been conflict, and we never made an attempt to get out of the divide and rule syndrome. In fact, we cultivated it.
The commission was established to facilitate and promote equality of opportunity, good relations, harmony and peaceful coexistence among different ethnic and racial communities of Kenya, and to advise government.
When the commission was formed, it was immediately after the post-election violence. The country was very volatile. There was a lot of ethnic mistrust, and we were going into another election. So they had to identify what exactly do we need to deal with immediately. It could have been very necessary to have the social cohesion index done so that you establish a baseline from which you want to operate.
The most important thing for the commission was to get a tool that would help us to compute cohesion, to take baseline data from the communities, from institutions that have worked on such data before, such as the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and use this data to apply within the tool that we will have computed, so we can tell how much cohesion do we have as Kenyans, and draw policy recommendations out of the findings.
An index can be very important to measure results, to monitor developments on the ground, to have as a basis for dialogue. And I think we can always use good baselines.
We need to have benchmarks. We need to measure progresses. Okay, where are we? On one hand, it's a monitoring tool, but on the other hand, also it's a planning tool. We will see from the indices the areas which require our support and influence policies and programs at both national but also county levels.
So on cohesion, we measured 6 separate components of cohesion.
And these components included equity, prosperity, peace, trust, diversity, and identity.
All the 6 components were measured out of a score between 0 and 100. So if you had full trust, for instance, it was a score of 100. If there was no trust, it was a score of 0. The highest scores in the study were scores for diversity. And the lowest scores in the study were scores for trust and scores for peace and equity. The National Cohesion Index is 56.6%. So that means that the level of weak cohesion or the lack of cohesion is 43.4%. So the government should be interested in seeing what can we do, what can we invest in to improve the frontier of cohesion from 56.6% towards 100%.
Uaminifu kati ya Samburu, Turkana na Pokot not good. Mara kwa mara wanasosana, wanaoana, mambo ya wizi ya ng'ombe.
In Marsabit, you trust a person from the same tribe.
Is that past experience about something that happened maybe during our forefathers' time, that it reached a point whereby this tribe was against this tribe or this religion was against this religion. So us who are growing, we are growing knowing that a person who is different from me, when he comes my way, this is how I'm supposed to react, basing on what others in the past used to do.
Pia tukiangalia upande wa judiciary, pale wateta wengi pale mashamba yetu tunaona pale hatuna title deed.
Ukiwa ni maskini na unaenda kwa court, you're not be able to have the advocate.
The local administration is not trusted. The way they handle issues when presented to them makes people scared.
And we know the history of Kenya, where there was a accumulation of violence experiences over decades. Very often the feeling to receive justice was not there.
Watu wengi wanaamini ya kwamba amani inakosekana wakati watu wanapigana mapanga, lakini sisi tunaamini ya kwamba amani ukosekana wakati watu hawana ile inner peace. Hiyo ndio chanzo cha kuja kukosa amani. So the situation on the ground is very, very difficult because almost 70% boys and girls are in drugs.
The cheap liquor inasumbua watu sana. Kama sasa hata ukitoka hapa saa hizi, uende hii area inaitwa karibu na Catholic, nakuta watu wengine wamelala kwa barabara.
Sisi wa mama tunafanyiwa mambo mengi, na vile tunafanyiwa, wakati utapeleka tunapigwa na wazee kwa familia, na hiyo utakapopeleka kotini haitafanyika kwa sababu tunahofia maisha yetu sisi kama wamama.
In Kisumu, situations differ. When there is elections, politics is coming. Kisumu is hostile. Without elections, it's very peaceful.
When you go to the Raka and mention that you are Mwimenti, it's you people who are trying to move our boundary. So you feel there is something.
Mtaa wetu wa Isli ni mtaa wa amani na tunataka urudi vile ulivyokuwa zamani. Isli hatukuwa tuna experience mambo ambaye yalikuwa inatokea. Hatukuwa tuna experience hizo vitu.
In terms of ownership of the tea estates, mostly it's owned by multinationals. They're probably very rich people. So there's a great, a great gap between normal Mwananchi and the rich.
pia distribution of jobs opportunity, wakipatia watu wote sawa haki, ikiwa umequalified, wakiondosha hiyo ubaguzi wa ethnicity na nini, nafikiri tutakuwa tuko mbali.
Here you find that historically since independence this tarmac ends here. That's the only tarmac in the whole region.
Kuna maswala yanaitwa miundo misingi hatujui kutoka mwaka wa 63. The infrastructure, mabarabara hatuna. Hivi leo tukimaliza warsha hii itabidi tulale huku na si mahali mbali pa kwamba tulale sisi, lakini itabidi tulale huko kwa sababu magari hayawezi kusafiri kwa barabara mbaya.
Equality, I see women we are sometimes marginalized in our county. In various committee we are never involved. So hiyo ndio problem tuko nayo sana.
Every now and then when a statistic is done, you realize that Kisumu County is on the lead about HIV and AIDS. But when resources are being distributed to the areas that has higher prevalence, you realize that other regions, that is counties, are given more than the number one.
Since we have the county government, that one for the equity it's supposed to be a bit high, because in most areas that had no water, right away they can be able to access water.
I'm urging all leaders, church, village, to treat every person equal.
Isiolo Central, yani sisi Isiolo North, ndio at least tunaweza sema sisi tuna interact na ethnic zingi wengine.
For example, in Keyo, we have the governor being a Marakwet, the deputy governor being a Keyo. And then, if you want to talk about diversity, the county secretary is from Luo.
Kuna makabila mengi hapa, mengi sana. Kuna Waluo, na hakuna hata kama hizi mandizi zinanunua na watu wanalo, na hakuna shinda tumepata hapa.
Ukitizama kwa kina utaona sisi wa pwani ni kwamba Wataita wako na nafasi kubwa sana ya kukubali kabila zingine, na wako hivyo sasa hivi kwa viashiria vingi. Unaona, kaangalia swala lingine dogo ambalo lilikuwa linaangaliwa la kuoana na kabila zingine za nje, basi wao ni wepesi sana wa kufanya hivyo.
Tunasemaga msichana anaweza kuolewa na kabila yote. Msichana kuna kabila, hakuna dini. Tunaweza kushia bora uwe na ng'ombe na uonekane kwamba wewe ni mtu, unaweza kutunza ile msichana ambayo umechukua kwa wazazi yake.
Hakuna problem, unafanya kazi na watu kabila yote, hakuna shida.
Intermarriage can bring people together, but it depends on the families. They should first be educated about this intermarriage, because some Muslims believe that you cannot marry a non-Muslims, but it depends if that person is not a polytheist or a mushrikina.
Ukija katika issues of identity, we have issues getting the national things, especially kama identity cards, passport. Watu wa coast kupata hizo vitu ni shida sana.
We are proud of our Meru ethnic. We are never ashamed of the way we talk. We feel that we are talking properly.
And I'm proud to be Kenyan, but there are times when I doubt that I'm actually a Kenyan.
The issue of identity is a bit challenging. And to extent people are called foreigners. They mean that the Kenyans from other counties, which is not from northeastern counties.
When you identify yourself with your tribe, you find yourself being marginalized, and maybe you cannot even get the services that you are supposed to get as a Kenyan. So you find that there's a challenge with identity.
Lugha ni vile nilizaliwa nikawa Mkikuyu, lakini kutoka zamani hata pale nilikuwa nasomea, bora mimi niwe Mkenya. Hata nimeenda Kakamega, nimeenda Kisumu, na pale huko hao ndio marafiki na ndio brother yako na sister yako wale watapata. In short, mimi ni Mkenya.
Prosperity yetu naonelea ni kama
the data captured, wale wamekuja kwetu, wamekaa pale, unafikiria hii ni mali ya Kitui, lakini si ya Kitui.
Wale ambao wameprosper, tukiangalia hata hapa Kilifi, tutaona ni watu wa kutoka sehemu fulani, wana maduka, wana business za nguvu, lakini wale wenyeji wamepunjika kidogo.
Watoto tunasomesha, kifika mahali inafika, hakuna usaidizi tena kingine, unajaribu kukimbia, unashindwa. Unakaa na ile mtoto tu ndani ya nyumba.
Ukimaliza kweli shule, unahitaji huo umeandikwa. Lakini sasa kuna vile jobs hakuna, the scarcity of jobs, you see. Na mambo mengi kama healthy.
Most of the youths you find in the village setup, they have no economic power as per se. But instead of the society trying to help them work around being economically empowered, I think we retard them.
So wakati hii kitu ilifanywa, to me it is reflecting the true picture of 2013, because that time tulikuwa comfortable, we had nothing, things were very okay. Trust ilikuwako, peace ilikuwako. So this one reflects the true picture of 2013.
Utafiti huu ama takwimu hizi basi zimefungua nafasi ya mazungumzo ya kina ya kuweza kuziboresha na pia kuzielekeza hali rasmi iliyoko hivi sasa.
So I think it's very important that the baseline information should be made available, preferably in Kiswahili and or in local language.
National Cohesion Integration Commission to start quarterly sessions at grassroots levels where citizens and the county government officials can interact and iron out issues before they erupt.
Na katika makazi vile vile tugawanye, bila kuangalia kabila wala sura wala nini, tugawanye, kila mtu apate nafasi ya kufanya kazi.
The TRC report is actually well documented, and it has really taken, we have been part of it in terms of those issues. So we want to see its implementation actually.
In our curricula, we have something on environment, we have something on gender, we have something on HIV and AIDS. So go ahead and infuse issues of national cohesion on our curriculum.
We have so many researchers on our hands, and this is so critical in our development as a nation. Some of them should be putting a lot of their efforts in this kind of study for our cohesion and integration as a nation.
If only we can come up with a standard measure on how we can share this national cake which has been baked through hustles and the bustles of all Kenyans, then what we see today as a dark day would be brought up to light.
We will not have a better Kenyan nation if we don't get our cohesion issues at the grassroots, at the county levels right. You will not enjoy the fruits of devolution if the issues of cohesion and integrations are not sorted at the county level. So we must get the basics of a better framework for sustainable development right.
Ama swala yote yana relate directly. Kuna pale kama trust iko chini na hata katika prosperity na equity pia inakuwa affected. Kumaanisha kwamba sio kuangalia swala la cohesion kwa ujumla, lakini tuende chini specific to the component, kuangalia kama tutafanya kazi namna gani kuhakikisha kwamba kutakuwa na usawa na maendeleo kwa ujumla kwa mahali pamoja.
Wananchi na wasalimu salamu za upendo. Leo hii mchinda nasema hadharani, nchi yetu ya Kenya yafaa kuishi kwa amani.
Based on the findings of this particular study, the index shows the national government where to focus resources in terms of improving national social cohesion, so that each of the components receives a bit of attention to progressively move from the score that we established towards 100. We hope this social cohesion index will be a benchmark, because it could be the only one of its kind in Africa that lays a benchmark on specific parameters
that you are unique to Kenya as a country, but again unique to each county within Kenya that we can then use going forward.
The cohesion and integration aspect is very critical and very important. Unless there is belongingness to a country, there won't be any country, there won't be any development, because we have just one country.
And time is now to reflect, to know that we cannot live like this forever. We lived a lie. We've lived a lie for a long time. And sooner or later, this lie will catch up with us. And if we are not prepared, we will be in an awful lot of trouble. So let's think how to get out of it.
Kenya is one of the best countries where you can actually see social cohesion. Irrespective of who you are, what you are, all I want to do is to ensure that my brother does his activities in peace. And that is the objective of social cohesion.
Aise, ukipata ajali sasa, ukahitaji damu, niwe naweza kukusaidia damu. Wewe labda wewe ni Mnandi, wewe ni Mkikuyu, wewe unatoka Pwani, wewe ni Mduruma. Hautaangalia damu yangu kama ya Mluya. Utataka damu ya Mkenya.
Kenya omida.
Kenya moya.
Kenya kwa genge ajektukul.
Kenya yemo.
Kenya pe.
Kenya ndala.
Kwamba mimi ni Mkenya. Kama kiongozi lazima nitangaze amani. Yale niyopata leo ni kwamba nihubiri amani. Viongozi wote Kenya